So we're going to talk about saying I do to your financial future. It was supposed to be girly.
It's very legible, though.
But at least you can read it, so that's a good thing. So basically what I want to talk about is how the financial industry tends to give a lot of lip service to the concept of long term. And, you know, everybody talks a good game when they talk about long term in the financial industry, but what does it really mean? Because when we talk long term at Mattson Money, we're talking about 20 years or more like lifelong when we talk about long term. And that's a concept that is a little bit stronger and longer than what most investors probably are thinking of when they think about their long-term investment needs or commitments. So, you know, 20 years is a big commitment, a long time for any kind of commitment. And what's the biggest commitment that we make in life? Boys, what's the biggest, longest commitment we make in life?
Marriage.
Help me out.
Yes.
Marriage. That's right. We all, sooner or later, many of us, most of us will be married, and that is probably the most commitment that biggest commitment we're ever going to make in our lives. So I thought that it would be interesting to find out, like, of those of us who commit to marriage, and you know, many marriages end in divorce, and the statistic on the divorce rate is a little dicey, but I'm seeing anywhere between 40 and 50%. The duration of first marriages that end in divorce is 7.8 years. In my slides, see my teeny tiny letters turned out teeny tiny. 7.8 years for a marriage, a legal marriage that you have to go through paperwork, and to get out of is a lot of paperwork and pain in the butt, and, you know, pain and suffering. You know, how long is long term when it comes to marriage? So the percentage of marriages, when we're talking, you know, for investing, it's 20 years at least. Percentage of marriages that make it to their 5th anniversary is 82%. So less than 20, like 18% of marriages don't make it to 5 years. Those that make it to the 10th anniversary is only 65%. 15th anniversary, it drops to 52%.
About half, yeah.
And then the percentage of anniversaries that make it to the 25-year mark is 33%. So, you know, if we're talking 20 years for investing, you know, somewhere between 33 and 52% of people in the country don't even make it to 20 years when they're in a lifelong committed relationship with another person who they loved at one point. So how much love do we feel for our portfolio, and how long can that keep us going? Can it keep us going for 20 years or longer? Just as a note of interest, and John brought this up when we were talking about this story this morning, is that what is the top reason for divorce in the United States? I'll give you one guess. Come on, guys.
Money.
What was that?
Finances.
Financial problems and money.
You brought it up.
That's the top reason for divorce that we can find in this country. So these two long-term conversations really do go together, because if you're having money problems, it can lead to much bigger problems in your marriage. So what does long-term mean to the average investor? According to Dalbar, how long does the average investor hold on to their investments? And the answer is 3.22 years. So when we're talking about a long-term investment, from a Mattson Money perspective and from a buy and hold long-term perspective, we're thinking 20 years. But the truth is that the average investor doesn't even make it for 4 years. So there's a big disconnect there when you're talking about a long-term commitment to your financial future. So what does it mean? So what? Well, the 20-year returns, oh gosh, this slide's going to look bad because this font's not on. The 20-year returns of the average investor ending in 2009, the average equity investor got 3.17% over 20 years, with inflation at 2.8%, while the S&P did 8.2%, according to Dalbar. So their behavior penalty for not sticking with their long-term plan was 5.3% for not staying invested. Much like if you don't stay married, you don't make it to the 25-year mark. So you don't get the result you were looking for. So what's the solution? So I think the solution is making a serious long-term commitment to your financial future, because it's much like getting married to another human being. Committing to an investment portfolio is similar to any important relationship in your life, because your portfolio is going to have good days and bad days. And your portfolio is not always going to behave the way you wish it would. You will have to accept the good with the bad, because the risk is what makes the return and the reward possible when it comes to investing and when it comes to a relationship. So today we're going to say I do to your financial future. So, Steve, you're going to be my guinea pig today.
Absolutely.
I need you to say I do to your financial future. Do you, Steve Miller, take this globally diversified portfolio to buy and to hold from this day forward for richer and poorer, in good markets and in bad, forsaking stock picking and market timing until your time horizon has been fulfilled?
I do.
So this is Steve with his new portfolio.
Well
Doesn't
diversified
he look
portfolio.
good?
That's
Him and
excellent.
his new bride.
That's strong.
Across the threshold. That's fabulous.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's great. Got a very pretty May wedding for you today, Steve, with your portfolio. I now pronounce you investor in portfolio. You may sleep well at night.
I'm so
So,
excited.
Aren't you
Fabulous.
excited? You made a
Yes.
commitment to your long-term portfolio?
It's good.
So I know this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I just think that it's an interesting way to illustrate how, people don't really comprehend what long-term means when it comes to investing. And I think that it's so important because, obviously the average investor, this isn't a legal binding agreement when you invest in a portfolio. Unless you're in something where there's a penalty to get out, you can switch your portfolio every time you're unhappy. If we did, well, I guess some people do this in
Obviously,
marriages,
yeah.
obviously. But, you don't get the long-term results that you want if you don't stay invested for a good length of time. How do you feel about your new commitment there, Steve?
I think it's strong. I was sitting here thinking a little bit, and I feel like I can tie a few of these things we've talked about together today. I figure if you're not one of the lucky souls to have the Methuselah, is that what it is? Methuselah gene?
Methuselah. Yeah.
Methuselah gene, and you're going to have a shorter life. Perhaps you should get married. It'll just seem a lot longer.
There you go. Seriously.
terrible.
We talked about this morning, and I think that one of the parallels that actually really does work is that the same thing that makes people abandon their long-term or their lifelong portfolio commitment or their investment strategy, I suppose, goes parallel with abandoning a marriage, in that it's missed expectations, right? They go
Right,
into
absolutely.
the idea of they can get returns without a lot of risk, or that there's some sort of free lunch in the portfolio.
Right.
And I would guess that missed expectations are at the
Actually,
root
I think
of-
that was on the list.
Yeah.
Like when I Googled the list of top reasons for divorce in the United States, and I do
Missed
believe missed
expectations.
expectations was on the list.
Well, and money. I mean,
Money
money
really.
is a proxy for
Yeah.
that. Probably
Right.
there's a lot of missed expectations around finances, I'm sure.
Right.
Yep.